they're trying to taint the entire opinion, one way or another, of the general public. That's something else that Jack Smith is dealing with as well, because Smith and Judge Tanya Chutkan, who's also assigned to this case, have repeatedly brought up their concerns over Trump's desire to do just that. The subject surfaced yet again about tainting these jury pools in a dispute over a motion that the Justice Department said it wanted to file under seal, with an accompanying redacted version to be filed on the public docket. Defense lawyers objected to this, counting that they were entitled time to review the Justice Department's filings and any proposed sealed exhibits before they could be docketed. But prosecutors said that it would be untenable to take several weeks to decide whether every ordinary filing that refers to sensitive materials may be docketed. They said that such a requirement would grind litigation in this case to a halt. Think about that point as we continue on, because that's the whole point. That's Trump's defense here. And it's particularly infeasible given the pressing matters before the court, including the defendant's daily extrajudicial statements that threaten to prejudice the jury pool in this case, as described in the government's motion. So it's pretty obvious. If there's enough of these things happening, they can change challenges here and there within this entire process. It'll slow things down, because his whole entire thought is, if I can stretch this out long enough, we can change this court date. And I said that's unfair that we actually have a trial that happens within the next 2-3 years, then that's all fair and good, because he thinks he's gonna win the presidency and then completely change the entire makeup of our government, which will allow him to do whatever the hell he wants, which has been his objective since day one. Here's some of the things that he's been doing as far as trying to taint this and also coming after this particular judge. He put this out on Truth Social, as he mentioned, I'm sure they'll be very fair, is linking to this article that says that the judge in his January 6th case is a scion of Marxist revolutionaries. Sure, just as long as he says it, then I guess that's true for everyone that wants to read it. Another one though, he's going after Jack Smith. Is deranged, the deranged Jack Smith in Capitol, of course, the prosecutor who is continuously overturned due to his unchecked and insane aggression, investigating the political hacks and thugs of the highly partisan January 6th Unselect Committee for tampering with, deleting, and destroying highly confidential and classified documents, pictures, tapes, evidence, and all forms of other important information. By the way, that's a very long run-on sentence, Mr. Trump. If not, why? I fully believe that it's because the evidence in question destroys his fake election interfering case. Dismiss suit. Think of that last sentence. He says, I fully believe. Well, bro, that's just like your opinion, as you just said. I believe that. That has nothing to do with law, that has nothing to do with the process. That's just what you think. Somebody who does other crimes may believe that they're innocent too, but that doesn't always have to equal out with what they've discovered. One more. As he retruthed this from Mike Davis that said Judge Tanya Chutkan, an Obama left-wing activist judge in DC, whose husband also got appointed by Obama as a DC judge, last I checked, those things are not illegal, openly admitted she's running election interference against Trump. Just looking for that proof as well too. But as long as you say that these folks are appointed by Obama, from Clinton, from Biden, it doesn't matter. Just say that's the reasons why that they're biased. Doesn't that also mean anyone that has been appointed by Donald Trump is also biased? Who cares? Doesn't have to mean anything at all. One more, because Donald Trump is on a tear. This is why they have these stipulations in these bond agreements that say, hey, stop talking to the public because you lie a lot. Last one, the following truth is a quote by highly partisan Judge Tanya Chutkan, angrily sentencing a J6er in October of 2022. She obviously wants me behind bars. Very biased and unfair. Ray, there's a lot there, but this last part that stuck out to me with that whole thing, I mentioned other things that bothered me, but because she was, in his opinion, angrily sentencing a January 6th defendant in October of 2022, that means that she's unfairly coming after anyone else. Last I checked, judges can be upset when a criminal's in front of them and they have to sentence them and they reprimand them and talk about how horrible their crimes were and if they have any remorse whatsoever. Matter of fact, I feel like that's a part of what judges do a lot of times. They wag fingers and tell people how horrible they are, and this is why I'm gonna give you this kind of sentence because you deserve it and you have been breaking the laws in our country and you're a pariah here.
Yeah, it's particularly they do that when the person standing before them doesn't show any remorse for the crimes that they've committed. Particularly when it's like a heavier sentence that they're giving that individual. I'll say, I think it would be very difficult to put a gag order on Trump about the trial because he's running for president. So of course, then there becomes the issue of he's gonna be asked this question on the campaign trail. Are you doing election interference by preventing him from speaking and defending himself publicly? I think that it's more than fair, and as it comes to, and we've talked about this a couple times now on the show, tampering the potential jury pool, there is not an unbiased individual in this country who would be able to sit on a jury and without any prior knowledge of Donald Trump, make a decision on his case. So there, of course, there's already a level of, it's going to be extremely difficult to do jury selection. So when he is putting out these statements that are meant to intimidate people, that are meant to, stir up his rabid group of supporters, it makes it even more difficult to find someone to sit on a jury, because people are going to be reasonably afraid for their lives that a Donald Trump supporter might come and do something horrible to them, because it's a group of people who have done many horrible criminal acts in the past and in the present continue to. So these are people who have been doxing the grand jury that indicted Trump, members of the grand jury that indicted Trump in Georgia. So it's already such a limited group of people that you can choose from. So Jack Smith is exactly right to be about the trial.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you froze for a second, so I wasn't sure if you had gotten the back end of your thought there. But this is the whole idea: delay, and then also try and make sure you make the jury pool as unsuccessful as possible. Let's put it that way. There's never anything that's actual legal proceedings or defense for the things that he's been accused of. There's been a shift, though. There's other parts about what Trump is looking to fight that have a couple of new developments that aren't very good news for him, though. Really fast here, because the E. Jean Carroll aspect of some of the things he's fighting with got slightly worse for him here, though. Here's an update there. E. Jean Carroll, in her case after she won that defamation suit against Donald Trump before, was awarded, I think, $5 million or so. There's another step, because she's also sued him further because he said all kinds of things and went after her. So the judge presiding over that second civil defamation case against Donald Trump said in a forthcoming trial will only determine the damages that she receives, not whether or not he's guilty of it, because he's already been found guilty of that already. So the whole point here is just how much more money are you gonna have to dole out now, former President Trump. So the ruling that Donald Trump is liable for these defamatory statements he made about that writer, E. Jean Carroll, in 2019 went public, and here's that the documentation that's showing he's gotta go ahead and pay up again. Now, Trump's attorneys were concerned that there should be some kind of limit on what they then grant for this second level of this civil lawsuit against him, and I think they got rejected on that as well. So it could be more than the $5 million that she got the first time. And of course, Trump is gonna be appealing this constantly as well. It seems like that's pretty open shut as well. They've already decided one thing, it's just a matter of how much they'll give her in the second one. Your last thoughts, Ray?
I mean,
it's constant.
Last thoughts is this man is swimming in not just, indictments and charges, but also judgments. And I mean, the fact that people still support him, especially the amount of female Trump supporters who have just disregarded the fact that in that course of that trial, they found, that he did sexually assault her. Doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to them how many charges come down the line. Doesn't matter to them what he's done. They still support him.
Yeah, we saw presidential candidates raising their hand that they would still support him even if he was convicted of all these things that you would think they disagree with him doing.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.